Up on Mountain News this morning, Attorney General Russell Coleman has filed a lawsuit against an AI chatbot company. And a new survey finds Americans are concerned when it comes to finding employment.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Welcome to Mountain News This Morning. I'm McKinley Calandrino here with you on this Friday, January 9th. The time is now 6 o'clock. Let's check in with First Alert meteorologist Megan Dusmall for a look at your forecast this morning. Megan, I know we've been talking about rain all morning. What else can we expect temperature-wise?
Temperature-wise, it's really not going to change. I mean, we're seeing 60s this morning and 60s this afternoon, so a little bit of variation. But as we head overnight, that's when you'll see the temperature starting to drop. But in terms of the rain, though, that is the main impact of the forecast. Not only rain, though, but we're also seeing some gusty winds this morning ahead of this system, something to keep in mind. But let's go ahead and pause that and show you just what's looking like right now. Looking at that rain in portions of McCreary County, Rockcastle, Pulaski, and Wayne County, and it's just going to continue moving to the east over the next couple of hours. Here's a look at those temperatures. As I mentioned, though, a lot of 60s to start off your day in the afternoon. Still 60s, a little bit warmer, mid to upper 60s, but for the most part, not going to see too much change in those temperatures. McKinley.
Thank you, Megan. Iranian authorities have cut off phone service and internet access in parts of the Islamic Republic as mass protests against the government continue. Dozens of people have been killed and thousands arrested. The FBI has taken control of the investigation into the shooting death of 37-year-old Renee Good at the hands of a federal ICE agent. Minnesota state officials say they've been shut out of the ongoing probe in Minneapolis. The Trump administration is doubling down on rhetoric that Good intended to hit the ICE agent with her car. The incident is sparking protests and calls to action nationwide.
ICE out now!
In freezing rain, hundreds marched through Minneapolis criticizing the surge in ICE agents.
People are still waking up and kind of like responding to the horror of what happened yesterday.
The Twin Cities, a powder keg, as anger has boiled over in response to the shooting death of 37-year-old Renee Good at the hands of an ICE agent on Wednesday.
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz raised concerns Thursday as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension says they were informed by the FBI that state prosecutors would no longer have access to the investigation, which started as a joint probe. Vice President J.D. Vance.
The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity.
CBS News has confirmed the agent who shot Renee Good is Jonathan Ross. He's worked with ICE in Minnesota for nearly a decade. During an ICE operation last summer in nearby Bloomington, video shows Ross being dragged by a suspect during an attempted arrest.
33 stitches in his leg, so you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile.
The Trump administration and President Trump have maintained the agent acted in self-defense.
I found it, to be honest, the department's official statement and the secretary's statements were really irresponsible.
John Sandwick, former acting director of ICE, raised concerns about maintaining public confidence. Despite the calls to leave, DHS says ICE agents will continue their operation in Minnesota. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz declared today a day of unity for Renee Good, calling on everyone to observe a moment of silence at 10 a.m. to honor her memory. This morning, the FBI is investigating another federal agent-involved shooting, this time in Portland, Oregon. On social media, the Department of Homeland Security said the shooting happened Thursday during a traffic stop targeting a vehicle whose driver and passenger had alleged ties to a notorious Venezuelan gang. DHS says the driver weaponized the vehicle and tried to run over agents, and that the officer who fired the gun feared for his life.
Patients were transported to local hospital, and their conditions at this time are unknown.
We must remain united in peaceful opposition to efforts to tear our community apart.
Last week, President Trump said he was pulling National Guard troops from Portland, Los Angeles, and Chicago after federal court ruled against him. But earlier this week, he warned on Portland, quote, "We'll go back in when the crime starts." The Trump administration is being sued by 5 Democratic-led states. A coalition comprised of 5 different states is asking a court to halt a funding freeze from the White House. State officials say this move is unconstitutional and violates law and regulations linked to federal and aid programs. The lawsuit is being led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, who says the administration has not given any, quote, legitimate justification, end quote, for stopping the funds. Lawmakers in Washington have now passed a bill that would extend health care enhanced subsidies for 3 years. They had expired at the end of last year. A total of 17 Republicans joined Democrats in the passing the measure. The House vote was mostly symbolic, but gets members on record. The measure is not expected to advance in the Senate. A state lawmaker is trying to change the requirements for the mandatory re-entry program that allowed Ronald DeSantis to get out of prison last October. Right now, only prisoners who were convicted of Class A felonies or capital offenses are disqualified. State Senator Brandon Storm's bill proposes another requirement. He wants to keep prisoners convicted of 2 or more violent offenses from being in the program. Storm also wants to give the state lawmakers an annual report on the program. And legislatures are putting the final touches on a bill that is intended to change Kentucky's justice system, some believe for the better. Logan's Law is named for Logan Tipton, a Woodford County boy killed more than 10 years ago. Ronald DeSantis was charged for the murder but found not guilty by reason of insanity. Although the General Assembly has been in session for a couple of days, Representative TJ Roberts is not ready to file Logan's Law just yet. He says with a bill like this, it's important to get the language right on the first try.
Get it to where once it's introduced, it can fly through the legislative process and get on the governor's desk as quickly as possible.
The Tipton family is included in this process. Logan's father, Dean Tipton, says this bill is something they have wanted since hearing all about the verdict all those years ago. Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman is suing an AI chatbot company. He says a site called Character.ai is putting Kentucky children in danger. The site lets users talk to AI bots that act like celebrities and fictional characters, including some who are popular among children. Coleman says Character.ai has been tied to multiple youth suicides and claims there aren't enough guardrails on the platform. Coleman wants the site developers to pay fines for violating consumer protection laws. And should Kentuckians be able to vote on whether recreational cannabis or not? One lawmaker thinks so. State Representative Nima Colquhoun has filed House Bill 199. It would place recreational cannabis legalization question on the ballot for adults 21 and older. If approved, adults over 21 would be able to possess 1 ounce or less of cannabis. They could also grow up to 5 plants for personal use. She says views have changed and so should Kentucky's laws on cannabis.
You can't forget the inherent unfairness and the injustice that people in the past have suffered because of the prohibitive nature of these laws.
Supporters say it's time Kentuckians get a direct vote, while Kentucky Republicans called the effort dead on arrival. They say their focus has been on medical marijuana, not broader decriminalization. A bill filed in the State House aims to expand access to feminine hygiene products in Kentucky schools. Democratic Representative Matthew Lehman of Newport filed House Bill 40 this week. If passed, it would require public and charter schools with grades 4 through 12 to provide free, age-appropriate feminine hygiene products at no cost to the students. Schools must also provide guidance regarding safe and healthy use of those products. Americans are feeling more pessimistic about finding work. That is according to a new jobs report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. It says the likelihood of landing a job fell to a record low 43.1% for December. Additionally, the December survey showed respondents' expectations of losing their job rose to the highest mean of probability since April. Outside of a few sectors, most industries are experiencing what some economists call a hiring recession.
We're talking about warm temperatures as you're heading into your Friday all day long, with not much change from the temperatures this morning to later this afternoon. Here's a look right now. A lot of 60s across eastern Kentucky. You'll notice it's a little bit chillier as you're heading into West Virginia and Virginia, some 40s, 50s, but overall the morning is going to be warm. Heading to the afternoon, still going to continue to stay warm. Some 60s all around, mid to upper 60s for many folks. But you might be more concerned with the rain as you're starting off this Friday, with the rain already beginning for some of our southwestern counties. More rain and thunderstorms are on the way. McKinley.
All right, thanks for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News this morning. Today is National Quitters Day, a day when many people abandon their New Year's resolutions.